my guest, former prosecutor, criminal defense attorney Marcia Mignot. Marcia, we were all stunned. Since CourtTV's relaunch, we've had several death penalty cases. Nobody has been recommended for the death penalty. This is the first one. And we didn't necessarily think this would be the first one. Thoughts?
I called this one.
Really? Okay.
I think I was the only attorney so far that I'm aware of that called this one. I felt like the verdict came down too quickly on a death penalty case for them not to give him the death penalty.
In the guilt phase?
In the guilt phase.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. So you actually equated what happened in the guilt phase to what you were forecasting for the penalty phase.
Correct.
And what is it about that quick verdict? I mean, it's got to be more than that led you to that conclusion.
It's a compilation of things. And one of the things that I realized is that you had a juror that was so invested in the case that he wanted to bring to the court's attention what he felt another juror was not doing, and that is paying enough attention. And then when the court inquired of that juror, we realized it really wasn't a big deal, but it was just his passion and investment into watching other jurors and trying to determine that if we're going to give the death penalty, we want you to pay attention.
That's interesting, because I think a lot of people, I am stunned. I really am stunned, especially because in Florida, you just need one person to say no, and then he gets life in prison, right? And so I think for everyone to unanimously agree to death is a little startling.
I saw that one coming. I saw it coming. The form of death, the hammer being used, it wasn't a quick death. It was a painful death. The testimony was that Dr. Severs had an opportunity to ask why, or was questioning, or had a question mark on her face when she was being bludgeoned to death. And I think when you combine the intensity of the jurors, the severity of the form of death, and the fact that it was the father of the children, I just knew it was coming.
Now back out to Julia Janae in Fort Myers. And my guest, Marcia Mignot. Marcia, so far when you're hearing that there are two major witnesses didn't hear a gunshot, how is it possible you don't hear a gunshot?
Well, it's depending on where the bullet is coming from and the gunfire is coming from. There was so much going on that evening. It sounded like a melee. So if there's a lot of yelling and screaming associated with the fighting, it's not uncommon for you not to hear the gunshot, especially if it's in close proximity to where all the yelling is going on.
Really? Oh, that is very interesting. I still think they should bring an expert, though, don't you? They have to bring an expert to explain why two prosecution witnesses didn't hear a gunshot.
If the state doesn't, that's going to be a problem for them. And the reason it is because your witnesses are unable to, one, place the gun in the hands of this defendant, and they're giving vague description. Because if we were to convict someone based on black male, wearing a black hoodie, approximately 5'10", we'd have a problem across this country.
Oh, absolutely, of course. But I do think if you take the descriptions as a whole, you piece them together like it's a puzzle, then you could get to Stephen Washington, especially because having dreads and the hoodie are not incompatible. Because if you have a hoodie, that is a reason where you can cover your hair, cover your face, and also explain not identifying. And also, the crime scene was allegedly very dark there. So that explains it. Chanley Painter, back out to you. Marcia, as you heard, Hannah Michener is at the center of this all. It's the reason that Ivan got so upset, that Ivan gets his cousins. They go to the second location. Nobody's ever supposed to go to the second location, but they did. And that is where the late night brawl turned into a killing. Doesn't this jury deserve to hear from Hannah Michener, even if she says, I was too drunk, I don't remember?
You may frustrate a jury by calling a witness that you know have absolutely no value to add to the case.
Okay.
So you don't want to prolong your case just because you can. Because if she was that drunk that she could not locate her phone, she didn't know where she was, and all the incidents associated with going to the second location, she was not present, calling her would be nonsensical.
Even to say, hey, did you think your phone was stolen? Or were you friends with Aleka Chapman? Because, and I just want to put it out there because, this jury is going to hear, at least from the Kelly side, oh, they stole her phone. But if you have Hannah Michener to come and say, no, Aleka was my friend, and if I left it in the car, had no problem with her returning it to me at work the next day.
I don't think it's material to whether or not this defendant pulled out a gun and shot and killed the alleged victim in this case.
Understood. Now, Chanley Painter, back out to you. So